Hello, it is Tuesday night, and welcome to the Progress Report. It is your boy, Dion Sage. I almost forgot my name. I guess I had too much turkey this week and too much good laughs with the family. How about you? You know, all over this past week, and I just want to say this. I'm going to say this. We do have a good show. I always say we have a good show. And I was just going to jump into my monologue. But before I go into my monologue, let me say I'm so happy to invite back Ivan. You know, Ivan from the Inner Circle. He is here tonight. And I love Ivan. We love Ivan. And like, I can't wait to sit down and have a conversation with him. But also, I have former city council president and now mayoral candidate Michael Soloman, and he's going to be wrapping up our mayoral series. We have now have interviewed each candidate at least once. The only candidate that we've interviewed twice is Gonzalo, and we will be a second time in our next season. So we have this show, and then we have the Thursday show, and then we wrap up this winter season. Before we do all of that, I want to talk about things. Listen, I understand many of y'all got recipes from your grandma and your mom and aunties and your uncles. But I think y'all need a little bit more bit more instruction on how to make your turkeys, how to make your stuffing, how to make cheese, how to make your candy yams. Because I saw some pictures over this past week from Thursday. Some of the food was suspect, y'all. Some of the food was suspect. I don't know who taught y'all that. I don't know if y'all watched Martha Stewart one day and she did it simple in 3 steps. Thanksgiving in 3 steps, or it was Rachel Ray and she said 30-minute Thanksgiving. I don't know did. But seriously, what you should have did was you should have went and found one of them old church mothers or one of them old abuelas sitting way in the back in the kitchen at one of the bodegas on Broad Street, and you should have asked them how to make your turkey. It's that simple, like that simple. You know, some of y'all, I saw some people's turkey, and you know, the little red button wasn't pushed out. That scared me. I'm pretty sure ER trips were up there. And those of you who try to fry your turkey, listen, listen. Frying a turkey is this simple, okay? You cannot take something that's this big and just drop it into a thing. They've been showing these videos year after year about how not to fry a turkey. We haven't gotten it yet. You got to slowly place that thing in. And I like fried turkey. I love me some fried turkey. This Thanksgiving, I tried something amazing. I tried smoked turkey. Getting some of y'all hungry right now, aren't I? Y'all thinking about I'm about to have a second Thanksgiving because y'all got that second turkey sitting in the freezer. You trying to save it for Christmas. I know, because I did the same thing. Anyway, we have a wonderful show for you tonight. But before we move on, I do want to pay homage to what had happened over in Michigan earlier today. Another school shooting, another high school shooting, and you know I'll never forget the first time I ever seen this many years ago. It was heartbreaking then, and the many that we've had, it's even heartbreaking now. Um, we have to we have to do better. And I'm speaking to the educators, I'm speaking to the parents, I'm speaking to the administrators of the school system, I'm speaking to our politicians. We have to figure out a way to do better and make sure things like this does not happen in our most um, sacred places where our young people need to free their minds and learn and to take and not take over, but to better us in society for the next generation. They shouldn't have to worry and go to school about gun violence. They should not have to worry and go to school whether or not this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And so my prayers tonight is with the families of the victims. My prayers tonight are with the students in that school. My prayers tonight with the teachers and administrators in that school district and that entire community. We at the Progress Channel were with you today. With that said, it's kind of hard to come back from that. But I'm excited because of the fact that I get to talk to Ivan again. And you know what? And y'all, listen, all I'm going to say is, welcome, Puppy Ivan. Hi, Ivan. Oh, I think you're muted. I think you're muted. I can't hear you.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now I gotta say it
Oh,
all over again. What's
yeah, say it.
up, Dion?
I mean,
Alright. I don't remember exactly what I said because it was kind of natural what I was saying. So now I'm gonna try to remember what I said. But basically, what I said was, "What's up, Dion? Nice to see you again. Thank you for having me on here again. It's always a pleasure. It's always fun. You always see me in the comments when you're on. I'm always on here like, what are they talking about progress report tonight? You know, it's always interesting. So I love the fact that you invite me because it gets me a different platform to talk, you know, and have a different conversation with different people. So definitely appreciate it. It's always a good time to be here. It's always a good time to have a conversation with you. So I appreciate it.
You know what, Ivan? I always like having a conversation with you, seriously. But this, I need for you to stop posting thirst trap pictures on Facebook. Taylor and I were talking about this, but no, like, have you been working out or something? Because like, or did you
Yeah.
Taylor said, you know what? Let him know that he's not muscles around here.
Nah, definitely not. Well, for those people that don't really know me, I'm not really like a poster. I'm not really somebody that's always like posting stuff about myself or anything like that. But sometimes I feel like it's necessary not only for yourself to like motivate yourself, but also to motivate other people and what their potentials are.
Yes.
You know, especially the older we get, the more busier we get, and then we keep forgetting we got to take care of ourselves. So I kind of post it as like a motivator. I know it
Mhm.
looks like a thirst trap. Yeah, it is kind of in a way, you know, let people know like, oh, I'm still here, bitches. I still got it.
Hey, I still got it. I mean, you know, once in a while you gotta post them pictures and let everybody know you still got it. Like seriously, like
No,
like
no.
I saw a picture of myself like I was 25 looking 19, and now I'm 34 looking 21. You know, it's amazing. It's absolutely. No, I'm joking. I don't look 31. I 21. 7,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Nah,
Um,
you look good. You look good. You look young. You definitely look in your 20s still.
it's amazing. So, Ivan, how was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was good. Usually I get to go around to my different families 'cause my parents are divorced, and I try to go visit different families.
Hmm?
And I usually go to my mom's house last because that's where I'm gonna eat the most, and that's where the good Spanish food is gonna be. So, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to see my mom first. I ate so much I cannot move. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of people experience that. Everybody looks for Thanksgiving, but it's because you get to eat so much, and then that nap afterwards with that full belly.
Low
Oof.
rate.
Yes, those are the best. A nice little blanket, filled
Let's
stomach.
uh
Ooh.
let's so every year for Thanksgiving I go spend it with my father's side and I do Christmas Eve or Christmas with my mom's side of the family. And this year, let me just say we went to my grandmother's house and my grandmother did not disappoint. My Nana did not disappoint. Shout out to Nana Val. Like she threw in the kitchen. But she did put me to work. She made me chop up some giblets for giblet gravy and things like that. Like, Nana, like, come on, like, I can't be doing. This is what I got to do. I can't be sitting there doing the hard work in the kitchen and things like that. No, no, she
But you know
knows
what
I would.
she's doing?
But
She's preparing you for you to take over.
she
You're
actually
like,
gave me a compliment. She said Dion can cook.
mm, see, there you go. You can cook. She's trying to give you a little bit of tips. Be like, this is what you got to do, so you can keep grandma's recipe going on. But I definitely agree. There's nothing like grandma's cooking.
There's nothing like grandma.
Abuela, nada. It's like, it's like, it's like
Abuela,
everything. Yeah, everything.
before, mamá. Nana, Nona,
I,
Mama, is nothing like grandma's cooking. And you know, it's amazing because on my mother's side, my grandmother, she was a home ec teacher. She cooked for years and things like that. But now I'm watching like my aunt, her daughter, my aunt, she is my mom's older sister. She like her, like she's got it down pat. You know,
mm.
she's a grandmother now, and she's got it down pat, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And then I watch her daughter, her oldest daughter, who's a grandmother, and I'm like, wait a minute, is it like once you become a grandmother, does God anoint you with extra seasoning or something?
Yes. I don't know
Like
what it is.
it's gonna come out great, like it's lady magic, like automatically.
Yep, for real. No, definitely.
So I know there's some things that I did want to talk about, but I really wanted to talk to you about. There was this Rhode Island state trooper who was caught having sex in his patrol car by another officer from a local department. Um, and according to the local department chief and the colonel of the state police, they're not allowed under the law, Leah Board, to discuss. They said, I'm not permitted under the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights to make any public statement in connection to the status of any internal affairs investigation. That's a manual. The Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights prohibits me from making any public statement. Right? Then they said, so I talk about Leopold. Let me just say this: I talk about Leopold all the time. I want Leopold repealed. I don't think it should be a law. Period. I like period. And I hope anybody that I'm very public about it. So I feel like if this was me or you, Ivan, and we were in our work uniform and we would have got caught having relations on the job, I mean, if we were caught like flirting, we get in trouble. We
Mm.
be or so. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Ivan?
I definitely agree. There's no covering for that. You were in the act. There's nothing that you can say that can justify your actions or anything like that. So I definitely agree that something should happen. Um, but I do understand where the administrator for the state police is coming from. Basically, he was saying that he's not, because of the law, he's not allowed to speak on it while it's still an investigation. So that just tells me that they are planning on speaking about it, but once the investigation is completed, um, there's a lot of places of employment, people that are protected through a union or anything like that, where sometimes you're not there. There's steps or guidelines that you got to follow before you can go out in public and start, because people start speculating, people start saying stuff with a little bit of information, and they can actually blow up to something to be huge when the internal investigation is still not completed. So I definitely understand the point where you do want to reserve yourself and hold all the information you have until you have a full picture and scope of everything that's going on. Because if you come out too early with too little bit of information, people are going to come to their own conclusions. Which in this case, it's obvious what happened. He should be
I mean, I
fired.
don't
Obviously, he was under.
know. It's a local law enforcement officer that found the state trooper. And my thing is like this: if again, and for me, when it comes to police officers, period, if they're supposed to be if they're supposed to enforce the law, we have to hold them. I think we have to hold them to the highest degree.
Mm,
I think we have to hold them to the highest degree with the law. Period. Like
yeah.
you can't sit here and say to me that this police officer is allowed to arrest me for a indecent exposure or whatever like that, but yet they had an indecent exposure in a state government car that is
Mm,
paid for by taxpayer money. If I'm going to say that, you know, and in any other job, let's just say a regular McDonald's worker
mm.
in their uniform does any type of act where I remember when I worked for McDonald's, if I went out after work, they would tell me take off my McDonald's uniform. You can't have the M and having a drink. I would get in trouble and lose my job. I
Mm.
didn't have law to protect me.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
No, I definitely agree with you. Like I said, he should definitely be fired. Um, you know, but unfortunately, there are laws and there's guidelines that we have to follow on steps on what we have to do. Like you said, even during the summertime, I'm a lifeguard coordinator, so I hire lifeguards and I put them in places and pools where they do. And one of the things I have to tell them is the minute you step off that pool deck, you take your shirt off, because no matter what you're doing out in public, people are going to see you and you're representing us lifeguards, kind of in that same situation. Whether he was off the clock or anything like that, he was still in uniform and he was still using a company vehicle to perform these acts or whatever he was doing. So yeah, he's guilty no matter what. No matter what they say, he's guilty.
I can see what you're saying from a managerial perspective. Like, well, this law ties my hands. And I think from a managerial perspective, that's kind of the best response. Say, well, this law here ties my hands. I can't say anything. And to be honest, and so like in my opinion, you know, and dare I say, maybe this is this possibly the state police officers commission. And I'm just speculating. I'm not could they be saying, hey, you know, this is an unjust law in a way, kind of way? Do you think that could be it? They're saying, hey, this is an unjust law because, I can't even comment on this. It's
Um,
the way they
it's
answered
it's
saying, look, the way they answered it, and I'm just indulge me. They says, I am not permitted. They said, I am not permitted under the law enforcement officers to make any public statement in connection to the status of any internal affairs investigation. That's how they started their statement.
Yeah. I think we saw the same one that was on the news, and I think he also said that until the investigation is completed. So that just left me with the impression that they are gonna say something. But I do understand that we live in a time where we kind of want information like now, which is true. We should, especially you as a taxpayer. He's we're paying for it. Pretty much, they work for us. So yeah, we should be able to be like, we want information now and everything like that. So but I definitely understand where they're going for. This administrator is also following the rule because he also doesn't want to get in trouble by just saying, you know what, screw the law. I'm going to say this, because then they can come after him for that as well. So it's people just, I think people are just doing their job, and it's just like, yeah, like there's certain laws that suck and that should be repealed or reformed or anything like that. So
Because I'll never forget when I was in college, and I'm gonna be transparent when I was in college. I was working full time, going to school full time, and living on my own. And I needed a little financial assistance, so I was hoping to get food stamps. And when I put all that information down, they had told me that, oh well, I understand where you're coming from, but if either quit your job, you get food stamps, or if you stop working, then you have all the money in the world to take care of your living. And it was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to go to school for an education to better myself. Should I get some type of assistance? And I caught myself. I remember in that moment, I caught myself getting ready to get angry at the person that was telling me that they could not do this. And I'm like, it's not their fault.
yeah,
That's law.
yeah,
It's a law. And I think sometimes, especially with state workers, we get upset because legislators and politicians make the rules and they have to follow it. And they get blamed instead of us picking up the phone and saying to our state rep, hey, like, this is unjust law.
Yeah. What we have to realize is that our voices are bigger than what they really are. People get content with the way things are, and it's like, yo, your voice is powerful. Like, if you're a taxpayer dollar, if you feel some type of way, just say it, express it out there. Somebody out there feels the same way as you, and they'll rally up behind you. But the minute you say,
if 2020 didn't teach us anything, and all we had was, there are people out there that will agree with you.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she got elected. Just saying. Anyway.
Oh man.
So last time on the show, we talked a little bit about Britney Spears. How do you feel that Britney's now free?
I think it's long overdue. 13 years as an adult, not being able to make your own decisions, not being able to make the decision to have a child, get married. You worked your ass off for all those years for somebody to tell you you can't spend your money. It's like, no, like 20 years I gave my life to performing and waking up, doing rehearsals, dancing 5, 6 shows in a row. And it's like, as an adult, you still try to control that person. So I'm glad, regardless of what her mental status, if she does have something that's in there, we all have issues. Everybody has a problem one way or another. Nobody's perfect. Just let her be the adult that she wants to be. You live in this world as yourself one time. If she mess up, let her mess up. That's what evolves us as humans. In order for us to be successful, we have to fail and we have to fall on our face. So I'm glad for her. I'm happy. I kind of got a little emotional when I was like, I don't understand that feeling of being trapped and suddenly being free.
I told y'all I'm not a Britney Spears fan at all, but I'm actually happy for her because I couldn't imagine someone telling me, "Oh, you have to do this way. This is how you have to be a host on the Progress Report. This you have to say, you have to do this." I couldn't imagine that, and if I lived in something somebody controlled me, yeah,
no.
I should, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you 20 seconds to go on like I want you to give us anything that this is like currently that's bothering you. Give you 20 seconds and then we have to go to commercial. 20 seconds, anything that's bothering you. Ready, set, go.
This new variant that's coming from South Africa. What is going on? We are trying to get out of this pandemic. We're trying to get out of this lockdown. I do not want to be locked down again. I miss socializing with everybody. I miss being around everybody. It's like, please keep that shit over there. Please keep that shit over here. Do not bring that shit over here. We are trying to move forward. We are trying to move on. We are trying to be happy. Yeah, that's how I feel. I know that's probably more than 20 minutes, 20 seconds, but yeah, that's something that's really getting to me. I was like, yo,
20 minutes.
I hear it in the news or I see it in my feed and I'm like scrolling past it. I don't need none of that negativity in my life right now. Nah. Oh man.
It's always good to talk to you one-on-one. I can't wait to talk to you on the panel a little bit later. But right now we have to go to our first commercial. We'll be right back.
Yes.
My name is Brian Sims, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. I think every day about the values that my Army officer parents instilled in me, to take responsibility, to show empathy, to have courage, and to be authentic. I want to put those values to the direct service of the Commonwealth. I have a lot of hope when I look at the people across the country that decided over these last number of years that they'd had enough, that they looked at a lack of leadership and thought that they could do better, because oftentimes they're right. We are the antidote to broken politics. My time in the Pennsylvania legislature has taught me a lot about not only how Pennsylvania government works, but a lot about how it doesn't. It's taught me a lot about how to work with people who don't always agree with me. I think it's time for me to take what I've learned in the House and to be able to bring that leadership to the direct service of the governor. I want to be your next Lieutenant Governor. We need adults in the room, and I want to bring bold, visionary leadership based on lived experiences and shared values to the Commonwealth.
And we are back. That was a wonderful conversation with Ivan. I loved his rant, and he's right. Keep that variant over there. We don't want it. Shut down all flights. How about that? Let's just do that. Uh, that plan. Everybody just travel inside the U.S. just for right now. We don't need no other variant in this country. But no, I'm truly glad and happy that we have completed. Everyone has. Don't know. Someone else announces later on. I don't know. Excuse my language. This shit out of luck. But no, I'm so happy that now we have officially tonight. We have officially interviewed all four candidates, and I'm excited tonight to talk to someone who I've gotten to know doing a lot of in my early years. The former city council president and former mayor, someone who has worked in administration in the city of Providence, who has developed businesses here in the city of Providence, has raised his family here in the city of Providence. I know a lot about him. I know everybody's like, well, you didn't give this for the other people. I know a lot about this person because I've been able to get to know this person. But doesn't mean that I support him or anything like that. Make that very clear. I have not endorsed the candidate because it's about the future of our city. And I promise this interview is going to be just like the other one. Get you the information you need to make an informed decision of your city. Without further ado, you guys, Michael Soloman.
How are you, Dion?
I'm good. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I'm doing well. Doing well.
That's good. That's good. So it's crazy because I say here, we were talking earlier, and I think about, how many times you and I have sat down across the table or even sat down on the same side of the table to fight for certain things. One of those things was Davy Lope's pool. I remember that. That was an awesome working with you on that and how to navigate and make sure we get money to save that pool for a very special part of the city.
Yeah, that was an important issue at the time, and I was
Right.
glad that we were all able to work together to get that accomplished. Because, as you know, there was all different types of groups that came together at that time to get that done. It wasn't one single person. It was
Had
a
some
lot.
Republican support on that pool efforts.
And so it was not. It was nice to see everybody come together
Right.
for the
It was
cause. I
bipartisan.
thought it was great.
That's cool. So, Mike, listen, you've been city council president, you ran for mayor before, you've raised your family, you got the grandkids and all this stuff, but like now you're saying, hey, I have to get this right. I have to get this. And so I have to ask you this question. What makes you the best choice right now for 2022 for the Providence mayor seat?
Well, first of all, as you said, I raised my family here. I was born here. So I've been here my whole life in Providence. I've seen it from as a 4-year-old all the way up to, unfortunately in my 60s. But not only that, I'm a small business owner in the city. So I see it from a business standpoint. I'm a former elected official, so I see it from an elected official standpoint. And I'm a former director in the city of Providence, so I see it from a director standpoint as the director of small business and development for the city. So I bring different aspects to the city, to the job, that there won't be any on-the-job training for me when I get there. And that, to me, is very important. Right now, the city is at a crossroads, and it's a divided city, and we need to unite the city. And I think the only way we're going to unite the city is to have a clear vision for the city moving forward. And that's why I'm running for mayor, because I have a clear vision on what I think the city needs to be, and I think we can get there.
So you said vision. Let's park there for a moment, if we may. So let's say you're mayor. Let's say it's 2023, day one, you're mayor of Providence. What is your vision for the city?
First and foremost, we have to tackle the education system. We need to have a first-rate education system. We need to have first-rate schools. I talked about this 10 years ago. I don't know if you remember that, the big plan that we needed to invest, $250 million to rebuild our schools. And, it's unfortunate I have to still talk about that to this day, 10 years later, So, I mean, things like first-rate education, public safety, very important. We need to look at public safety. We need to look at city services, the way city services are being delivered. Okay, so these are things that I look at when I talk about vision, and we need to unite the city. I think the city right now is fragmented, and I just think it needs to be united. I think different areas are pitted against each other, and it's that's what I'm seeing, and it's not healthy.
So you said day one we have to start with education, and as we know, there was a state takeover a few years ago with our Providence school system, and there's been a lot of fighting with that and things of that nature. The city's going to potentially get back the school system.
Yes.
First, what is your opinion of the state takeover? And then second, what you're again, let's say you're mayor, like how do you really fix this broken, and then I'm gonna say broken education system that's been broken for quite some time. How do you fix this broken education system where we can't get administrators to stay? It seems like the curriculum changes all the time. Parents don't understand the curriculum. Teachers and principals are focusing more on discipline than educating. How do we fix this broken education system?
Well, first, the state takeover, if you look at past history, the state has taken over, I think, West Warwick or Coventry at one time. They took over Central Falls, and they really didn't accomplish much. And I don't want to play Monday morning quarterback. I'm not here to criticize the state on what they did or what they didn't do for Providence, but I do know myself. There's a lot of things that we can do to fix the situation. First and foremost, there has to be accountability. Well, stability first, because like you said, every time we bring in a new superintendent, the curriculum changes. So every 3 years, 4 years, you're starting off with a different curriculum. So these kids are basically almost starting from scratch. So that has to change. We need stability in the school system. We also need to have accountability. We need to have accountability with parents. We need to have accountability with administration. We have to need accountability with teachers. And we also need the students to buy into it. We need the students to buy in. And I think with everybody working collectively, we can get this accomplished. Let the principals run their schools, okay? Let the teachers run their classrooms. And they have to answer to the principals. And if the principals are not doing their jobs, they're going to have to answer to somebody. So in other words, there has to be some kind of accountability there. Right now, there doesn't seem to be a lot of accountability.
You say accountability, and one of the things that I've been talking here with every mayoral candidate is, the appointed school board versus an elected school board. Where do you stand on an elected versus appointed school board?
I'm a little concerned about an elected school board because that doesn't necessarily mean because you're elected that you're qualified to serve on a school board. I mean, I've seen it's like the city council. I've seen some council members that didn't deserve to be sitting on the city council, but they were sitting on the city council. But I think with the elected school board, now you run into the part of the funding, who gets to do the funding, and now it's just another layer of bureaucracy where the school board complains the city's not giving them enough money, and there's bickering back and forth because you never get a school board, elected school board, to go along with the administration. Any city who has an elected school board will tell you that they're always at odds with either the mayor or with the city council of over funding because they control the funding end of it. So they, in reality, don't have to go to the taxpayers to raise the taxes to get more money for education. They can spend whatever they want and go back to the council and the mayor and say, hey, we need more money without having any accountability. So I think I was never in favor of an elected school board. Even on the council, they tried to pass it one year and we shot it down because we just didn't think it was the right thing at the time.
I mean, because for me, I'm more of, I like the hybrid kind of. You have some elected officials, some appointed officials. So I think you still have that accountability on the school board, but also you have a certain number of school board members that also have to answer the general public through their districts and things like that. Because I think that's important when we're talking about public officials, especially for me as someone on a school board. In a way, um, you know, they're basically the elected, for me, the elected official or the appointed official for our child's education. And I think that, in my opinion, that we can get a lot of ideas from people who, mind you, would never in a million years would get on school board, because we can say the same thing about many people get appointed on the school board that you had said earlier
Yeah.
about who get elected. There are people who should never been on the school board. I can go down.
There have been at times, but I also believe that you have a more diverse school board than you would have. Well, that's not true either. That's not to say I don't know what kind of school board you would have if it was an elected school board, realistically. But I will say that we try to, as appointed candidates to the school board, which the mayor appoints, I've always felt in the past, uh, education falls at the doorstep of the mayor. And with a failed education system, responsibility falls on the mayor. And that goes for even with an elected school board, the responsibility is still going to fall on the mayor's toes. And I believe that it's going to fall on his toes. He's got to be responsible and take the bull by the horn.
I have one more question. You're going to be mayor of Providence. The mayor of Providence really doesn't have any say on this. They don't, not to say you're running for mayor of Providence, but the mayor of Providence would not have say on this. But the mayor of Providence is the person that should be the chief legislator for Providence. Leobor has been a hot button conversation over the past few years, especially with all the shootings of unarmed Black men across the country, and even the incident we had here last year with Sergeant Hanley. Where do you stand? On Leopold? Are you repeal or are you reform?
I think you have to do some reform there. There has to be modifications made to that law. And I know you gentlemen were speaking earlier on the state trooper, and my understanding is once they're charged, their names do get released. So it's not that their names are not getting released, but prior to them getting charged, they don't release their names. And once the cop is charged or the officer is charged, then their name does get released. But I mean, there has to be some protection there at some point, but there also has to be some transparency. People, right now, there are a group of people out there that just have no trust in our police force, and that has to change. We have to, we need more community input, involvement from the police in the communities, so we can try to fix that problem. But the law itself, it's good and it's bad. It's almost like case by case. So I think to paint a broad stroke with the paintbrush, I don't think that's possible.
So, I mean, let's take the Sergeant Hanley case from last year, for example, right? You have, which is a federal crime to handcuff somebody and then abuse them, which is federal crime because they're unarmed at that point. They're in a defenseless position.
And he paid the price for it.
He paid the price for it months later, not immediately. That's what I'm saying. The law protects people like that. That says, and for many people like myself, who is a Black Indigenous person of color in this country, that's scary. And I think all candidates, and then we have to go to commercial after this. I see my producer looking at me. But I think that all candidates, whenever you're running, whether you reform or repeal, if we're talking about this piece of legislation, we have to take into consideration that there's a group of people that is scared of police officers, no matter what age or the amount of success you have. When someone like a Johnny Cochran can get pulled over, driving, and he had the money to drive his Mercedes-Benz, and to drive down a main street, that's a problem in this country. And it's just like, for example, and I will say this, for even a Dion Sage to get pulled over who doesn't have a criminal record, but also get harassed by the police. That is the problem we have in this country. This is the problem we even have in the state and in the city. And, and I hope through further conversation, we can talk more about that. But we have to go to commercial before I get beat up behind scenes. But we'll be right back.
Okay.
Everybody get your popcorn. This is going to be a great conversation. Wow, Chris gave me the countdown and it said he caught me off guard. I didn't look crazy. Anyway, that's the conversation so far with Ivan and Michael Solomon, who is a Mayoral in Providence. And we're going to continue the conversation with Mike back and the conversation about Providence and also the future of our great city. So, welcome, Ivan and
Great to be back, Dion.
yes.
Yes, thank you.
So, question. So, because after I probably, I'll probably see some of you, may not, or whatever. I know Ivan, you and I have that fundraiser coming up with Taylor. Actually, I'll be on your show tomorrow as well.
Yes.
Catch on Ivan's show on YouTube in a circle. I can't wait for that. That was supposed to be part of the announcements for the last. Mike, I got to go sit over at Wes's and have some ribs with you.
Yep.
And have a conversation.
Well,
Y'all know Dion.
That's all you guys were talking about was food, smoked turkey, and I'm saying to myself, boy, you want to really make a smoked turkey? I'll show you how to make a smoked turkey.
No, what?
Oh, there we go.
Look, all we need is a turkey.
Oh.
But let me ask you this question, gentlemen. And either one of you can answer first. What is your favorite place in Providence and why?
Ivan, you can go first.
My favorite place in Providence, honestly, it's I love food. I love to eat, but a place that I definitely like to go to because of the scenery and everything is the what is that called? That's in the east side, the statue with Roger Williams on it.
Prospect Heights.
Yes.
Prospect
Hill.
Heights. The
That's
view.
beautiful.
Some people call it the view. It's such a beautiful view.
Yeah.
You get to see all of downtown in the fall time with the fall colors, even with the snow at nighttime. If you definitely have some time, you have your boyfriend, your girlfriend, somebody you want to go spend some time at night with and just have a nice conversation or just look outside. Definitely go there. Prospect Heights, the view, definitely beautiful scenery of downtown. Yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah, it's very nice. I mean,
It is.
there's a lot of good sites in the city of Providence. I mean,
Yes.
it's even Roger Williams Park has a lot of beautiful sites over there. Just to go,
Yes.
especially down near the boathouse and the
Mm.
other it's just beautiful over there. I enjoy Roger Williams Park, just taking a ride through there and looking at the scenery over there. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people underestimate Providence, but we definitely are a very like artsy city state. We definitely have a lot of nice views. We have that nice bridge that we just
yep.
got. So definitely, if you're not from Providence or Rhode Island, definitely give us a little visit over
I mean,
here.
there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things you could see in Providence.
I think that's why I like downtown Providence, because of the fact that um, you can be downtown Providence and get a flavor of all of the city. So if I want to go to
Mm,
Prospect, it's literally a 10-minute bus ride. If I want to go down to Roger Williams Park, there's multiple buses that I can take down that way. You don't even have to worry about taking your car. You can hop on the Ripter and really go, and like from downtown Providence. Anytime like someone says, "Oh, well, where should I stay?" Well, if you really want to see Providence, if you really want to see Rhode Island, you got to stay in Providence, because it's the heart of Rhode Island, and that's why I think it's important. Rhode Island recovers economically. I think the entire state recovers economically. Period, and
mm.
and even more so. Um, that's I love it. So I have another question. If you could wave a magic wand tomorrow, we wake up and one thing would be a problem. What would it be? And since Ivan started, I'm gonna start with you, Mike, on this.
You broke up on me.
If you could wave a magic wand and tomorrow we would wake up and one thing would be different about Providence, what would it be?
Something that would be different about Providence. Uh, all neighborhoods would be thriving in a united Providence, where you can go to every neighborhood in the city of Providence and experience the uniqueness of that neighborhood, because each neighborhood is rich in their own cultures. And
Mm.
I really enjoy that myself. A lot of times, whether you come to Elmhurst, whether you go to Olneyville, whether you go to the south side, there's always something different. Even up on the east side, there's always something different. So it's to see all the neighborhoods thrive would be the perfect city for me.
Mm.
Ivan, if you had your magic wand, what would be different about Providence?
Just because it was recently spoke about, and I definitely agree and feel very strongly about it, is our education system in Providence. I feel like that would be that would help us thrive in a lot of different ways. Economically, people with better education can get better jobs. People with better education can financially take care of themselves better, know how to budget, know how to like reinvest or invest into their credit. I feel like the education, it's the main focus that we need to do to build our city and build our neighborhoods better. So that would be something I would definitely change.
For me, it would have to be homelessness. I would eliminate homelessness. We wake up
Mm,
tomorrow and there homelessness, um, and with that also hunger. Nobody would ever hunger.
mm. Well, they kind of go home. They kind of go hand in hand. If you're homeless, you're definitely struggling with food as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Everybody should be able to have a
Not
roof over their head.
some they be walking out. Um, they be walking out. They got their meals and stuff. They got their meals. But you're absolutely right. It
Mm.
does go hand. It does go hand in hand. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Um, so the Providence City Council Ordinance Committee passed two measures on a 5-0 vote that would seek to limit the expansion of fossil fuel industry in the Port of Providence on Monday. The first was an ordinance to change the zoning in the parts of the port to not allow the storage of liquid propane gas. The second was a resolution declaring the city council support for a full hearing on the expansion of C3 LLC propane businesses in the port. Both pieces of legislation were introduced by Councilman Espinal. Currently, the C3 LLC meeting with the energy facilities is sitting on the board, state legislature. Where do you guys stand? What do you see, Mike? And I'm gonna ask you this question, Mike, that those two pieces of legislation and that port has been at the top of discussion for many years. I know I have that discussion in my early years working in politics. So I know you've had the discussion multiple times in your work. Where do you stand on this on the fossil fuels and the not just the fossil fuels but the entire port?
Well, first of all, the port is a working port, and it's very important to the city of Providence. It creates a lot. It has a lot of jobs, employs a lot of people, but more importantly, there's room for expansion over there for more jobs over at the port. But the thing is, with the liquid propane gases, if I'm not mistaken, that was National Grid at one time wanted to put tanks underground, and I guess they thought they were going to come in and be able to do that. And right now, this has been a hot topic for probably the last 8 years because this just didn't pop up. So this has been this has been something that they've been trying to do for years. And right now, I don't know enough about the health ramifications that derives from the tanks themselves, the danger of having those tanks underground if they do create a danger to the people in the neighborhood. But I think something has to be done to make sure that the neighborhood is safe that surrounds the port area. So I think just bringing in businesses to bring them in, or especially dealing with the liquid propane gases, that's something I'd be concerned about, and I probably would go along with the council on banning that.
So I mean, you know, one thing that with another mayoral candidate was about with that was um, you know, the state legislation makes a lot of decisions on what happens with that, or with this piece of legislation, if it passes the full city council, wouldn't that tie us up in legal battles with us?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on this one because, well, the state's always going to supersede the city. But a lot of times I find the state will not go against the city. I've been up to State House a lot of times when they would say, we'd want something passed to the state or rejected at the State House. And the Speaker of the House would call and say, listen, you send me a resolution from the council saying that you reject this ordinance or this bill, and we'll reject it. Or you send us a resolution saying that you support special legislation on something, and they'll usually turn around and say, okay, we'll pass it. So we've always had a good, in the past, I've always had a good working relationship with the General Assembly on issues that pertain, whether it's state ordinances, bills and city ordinances. So, it's, again, working hand in hand with the state. I don't think it's pitting the state against the city. I think it's that you work hand in hand with them. And I think the state would probably would go along with the city if the city was adamant about something like this. I don't think the state would override the city.
Excuse me. It's crazy because I live in that neighborhood, and they're looking at. I remember they're looking at the numbers a few years ago about the amount of children born
Yep.
respiratory. That's very high, and that's the liquid propane gases. Several things. We had several oil leaks over in that area. In the summertime, like literally, Ivan, you drive through Allen's Avenue, it was like this thick cloud of dust. And you got to think about it, you're driving with your car window open and you're breathing that stuff in. That can't be like good for anybody's health at all.
Exactly. There definitely has to be a buffer area.
So I just want to sit here and say this. Tomorrow is World AIDS Day. World AIDS Day is the highlight of the urgent need to end the inequalities that drive AIDS and other pandemics around the world. Without bold action against inequalities, the world risks missing targets to end AIDS by 2030. There's a federal commitment right now to end HIV and the transmission of that. Ivan, what do you think? What do you think is our biggest struggle when it comes to fighting against this still pandemic that we have with AIDS and HIV?
Again, I'm a big believer in education. I feel like educating our youth even our adults in safe practices for sex. Getting yourself checked. I feel like a lot of people that struggle or something, they haven't really had that educational experience, or maybe they didn't have somebody in their life to like talk to them about preventative measures and stuff like that. I know now there's like pills, or I think it's called like prep, something that you can take. Um, so yeah, I mean, just teaching our youth, um, you know, sexual practices, safe practice, getting checked all the time, getting checked with your partner. I feel like that's one of the most attractive things to you can do, especially when you're dating somebody. Is like, hey, let's just go get checked. Doesn't matter if we're both safe or we're both. It's just making it a habit. Making it
Mm.
a habit of making sure that you both are safe for each other, so you both can live a long life together, if that's what it ends up being. But yeah, no, educating ourselves, educating our people, letting them know where they can get preventative measures and stuff to help them, or where they can go get checked, and things like that. Sorry, so I went off
Right, no,
topic.
you're right, but you're right. Preventative measures, education. But also we also have to realize that HIV is not just sexually transmitted. There have been many people who have gotten it through opioid addiction, have gotten it through sharing needles, things like that.
Mm.
Um, uh, you know, Mike, one of the things that Boston does is they have, before I speak of Boston, there used to be the needle exchange program, and I'm not sure if they still do it. It used to be the needle exchange program where they would exchange clean things like that. And also in Boston, they have these hubs where people can practice, not practice, but uh, uh, not get the needs, but have these hubs where they can do those things
A
in
safe
those
place.
in a safe place with healthcare providers. If someone overdoses, can that be something that we replicate here in the city of Providence?
I truthfully, I don't know enough about the program and how it's working out there, if it's working. My big
Mhm.
concern with, especially with the AIDS epidemic at the time, was that the medication was too expensive for a lot of people to afford. And
Mm,
that kind of like bothered me, that something should be done to make the medication more affordable, that if somebody does have it, that you don't have to be a millionaire uh, to survive with AIDS. And I mean, you don't hear a lot about it now as much as you did 10 years ago, because they do have some drugs out there that let you live with AIDS. So,
mhm.
but I mean, as far as like the needle programs, I don't know enough about those type of programs. And I'm not sure if they've been if they've been around long enough that we've seen any studies on them.
Mhm.
So I mean, that could be good. It could be bad. I mean, you could look at it and say, okay, what message do we send out there when we do things like this? So I mean,
Right, right.
it's almost like a double-edged sword. You want them to be safe. You want somebody, a clinical person there. Okay, so I that part I understand. The other part, then, the other thing you're saying is, well, okay, if you can shoot up, come here and shoot up. Like, we won't bother you, you know. So I mean, I don't, it's breaking the law, and it's kind of like saying, okay, we're going to let you break the law over here and do this. So
It's definitely tough. Sorry to jump in because I know we probably have to go to commercials, but I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's kind of hard to kind of let them know like it's a safe place to do it, but I kind of agree with it in a way. I would rather have them do it with somebody present in case something happens, like an overdose, or give somebody a fresh needle. And I was just reading in October, Governor McKee actually just he agreed on a pilot program where Rhode Island will give users a legal, safe place to use illegal drugs with somebody supervising there. So he approved that, a 2-year pilot program in Rhode Island where people that use can go and safely use it with somebody there.
It's crazy because the same way. I felt the same way in the beginning, like, oh man, we're allowing this to happen. But then I thought about it, one of the things that I see constantly when constantly, living in South Providence and, having to take that, and I take that bus line, is I constantly see first responders responding to someone who has overdosed or, or anything that. And my thing is like this. In a split second, someone's life can be saved by having a Narcan handy and things like that. My church recently we did among the ministers of the church we did a Narcan training, which I think was very important, especially as we're going out there to minister and talk to people and evangelize. I but also like I think I agree with you, Ivan. It would be good to see a safe space, and I didn't know that Governor McKee had put that 2-year pilot program in there. Thank you for getting that piece of research.
Well, let's see how it works out.
Sorry.
I think we can see how it works out if there's going to be a 2-year pilot. And I mean,
Right.
it's just like one of those things where it's you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's just it's I don't think it's a clear cut. It's just a tough
So
call.
I just want to say this: we are like completely over time. We're over a lot of time. Normally, you go to commercial before final thoughts, but I am going to trump. I am going to do the host and executive and co-executive producer privileges of the show, and say we're going to do final thoughts because of the fact that like I said, it's 9 o'clock. So this is tonight. We talked about a lot. By the way, Mike, you were onto something about the medication. You talked about, the price, the cost. People, it's on average $1,400 a month for somebody to get to pay for the
Yeah,
prescription.
that's ridiculous.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now it's time to say goodbye to all of y'all out there. And get final thoughts. And you know how I like about final thoughts. And just a reminder, this ends our Mayoral series, but on Thursday we have the show at 8 o'clock where we'll be talking with a nice wonderful panel about everything. And also catch me tomorrow night on Ivan's show, and he'll talk about that. But we're going to start with Mike Soloman. You take it away with your final thoughts. 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, it was nice. The show went along pretty fast. But I guess when you're having good conversation, that's a good thing. So
Right.
listen, it's a long race. I look at running for mayor as a marathon, not a sprint. So we're going to be out there for the next 10 months, putting our message out there, letting people know that we have a vision for the city, and we can implement that vision. And we're just going to move forward and hopefully be victorious in September. So I would ask it respectfully that I'd ask the audience to give me their vote next September for mayor of the city of Providence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ivan, final thoughts, bud. Well, I'm giving you a whole nother Mr. Rant. Wow. I'm a man. Go ahead.
So first of all, Dion and crew, thank you so much for inviting me one more time. It's always a great conversation when I come here. I always have a good time. You guys have positive energy and positive vibes. Mr. Soloman, thank you so much for the conversation. It was great to meet you, have a conversation with you. Best of luck this 10 months. I'll definitely be following up on you. I definitely like the conversation, so I'll definitely be checking up on you to see how you're doing. Once again, everybody out there who's watching, get involved. Get involved in your community. Get involved in your child's education. I'm a big speaker on education. I feel like education can help and solve a lot of our issues that we have within our city. We have so much talent. We have so much potential as a community, as a family, as a unity to bring Providence up to its highest potential. But it's up to us to give our own time and our own dedication into the city that helped raise us and become the people that we are today. So definitely get involved in your city. Definitely get involved in your child's education and love one another. And just know that, we're all trying to survive and we're all trying to live here and coexist with one another. So love one another, love yourself, and I'll see you next time. Tomorrow, Dion will be on the Inner Circle. Definitely tune in for that because I'm excited to pick his brain on all the mayoral candidates that he's had on his show. And we also have my friend Michelle joining us for the first time in the Inner Circle. It's going to be a fun, good time. Definitely tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the Inner Circle. TH3 in a circle will be there tomorrow.
That was more than 60 seconds.
I know. That's how I talk too much.
Realize, like, you
Spanish.
did not
Spanish.
prompt. I am so proud of you. Like, I see, that's growth. See, that's growth. Hey, that's growth. You know, the first time you dropped the F-bomb, the second time you did it a couple of times, and then this time you did it 2 times. See, that I'm so proud of you.
I'm growing. I'm growing.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it.
My final thoughts tonight. We here at the Progress Channel have been dedicated to bringing you guys the political candidates. Tonight, you have heard from another political candidate who's vying for the vote for the mayor of Providence. You have heard from Gonzalo Cuevo, who's vying for the vote for mayor of Providence. You've heard from Nerva Rebecca LaFortune, who's vying for the vote of mayor of Providence, and you've heard from Brett Smiley, who's vying for your vote for mayor of Providence. Now it's your time. If you have not caught the other ones, go back and look. Go back and research, because that's what it's about. Before I make any decision, the reason why I wanted to do this series this way, before I make any decision on who I support, I literally do what I'm doing right now. I sit down and I interview each and every candidate to make an informed decision on who I think should be the next person representing my ward, my district, my city, my state, my country. I wish I could interview the president. Imagine an interview with me and Donald Trump. That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting. He'd be like, first up, age, I can't believe you have me here. Just went up to 1,000% because I'm here. And then I'll and literally probably just go off the ripter. I probably put holy oil in the Bible, slap him with it a couple of times, and toss the oil on. But seriously, it's important for us, like Ivan said, to get involved in our political system. And I keep saying this quote. Tip O'Neill wrote a book that politics is local. Politics is local. At the end of the day, your local representatives make decisions that affect you each and every day. So get involved, everybody out there. And also love one another, hope beyond measure, and have faith in all you do. I will see you Thursday night. And until next time, good night, Rhode Island.